Welcome to CRJ 134. This week we're taking a look at Chapter 12, which looks at things that can be done to help prevent delinquency. And so the chapter really begins with a discussion of some of the key features of delinquency prevention. Because preventing juvenile delinquency means many different things to many different people. So what does preventing juvenile delinquency mean to you? Think about this as you get into this chapter. What ideas of your own do you have that maybe weren't discussed in the text? Now, economist Mark Cohen estimates that the typical criminal career over the juvenile, when we talk about juvenile, we're talking about age 14 to 17, and the adult, ages 18 to 23, over those years, he estimates that it costs society between $1.3 and $1.5 million. So now add in the cost of drug use and dropping out of high school, that brings that total to somewhere between $1.7 and $2.3 million. Now when you just focus on juveniles, it's been estimated that a typical juvenile criminal career imposes costs on society in the range of $80,000 to $325,000. So does it surprise you that one juvenile career can cost society so much? Do you believe that that cost is going to increase or decrease over the next 5 years? Now, what ideas do you have that might help decrease some of those costs while at the same time decreasing the problem of juvenile delinquency? And you may sit there and think, well, I don't know. Well, that's part of the problem that the criminal justice system has faced, because it is tasked with reducing cost at the same time reducing delinquency. Now, in the 1950s, a major focus of delinquency prevention programs was to reach out to youths who were unlikely to use community centers. So instead of having troubled youths come to them, they had what were called detached street workers that were sent into inner city neighborhoods, and they created these relationships with juvenile gangs and groups in their own fashion. Now, do you think that a detached street worker focus would work today? Or are gangs too violent really to benefit from that type of approach? And would you ever consider doing that type of work on your own? Now, in the 1960s, many of the delinquency prevention programs were based on social structure theory. And remember, we talked about that previously. Now, it was during this area that the Head Start program was developed. So it's important for you to understand that delinquency prevention programs during this time were very rehabilitative in nature. Now, do you think that contemporary delinquency prevention programs are geared towards rehabilitation? And think about that. If you don't think that they are, why not? What can be done to improve them? Do you feel that the current delinquency prevention programs we have in place are really doing what they can to help, hurting delinquent youth? Now, in an effort to address juvenile delinquency, certain early childhood interventions have really received a lot of interest and have come to be seen as an important part of the overall strategy to help reduce the harm that's caused by juvenile delinquency. And those programs are really aimed at positively influencing the early risk factors, or what we would call root causes of delinquency and criminal offending, that could continue into the adult years. So do you agree that such things as home visitation programs can be effective in reducing delinquency? How about improving parenting skills? Is that beneficial? But what happens if parents aren't receptive to those types of programs? Do you think that daycare and preschool programs can be effective tools of delinquency prevention? How about school programs in the primary grades? Or is it too late by that time? Have the other influencing at-risk factors become too influential by the primary grades? Again, all important questions to ask and to be answered. Now, despite the success of many different types of delinquency prevention programs, they really have received a fraction of what is spent on the juvenile justice system to deal with young people once they have broken the law. So when reading this last part of the chapter, take note of some of the obstacles that are facing delinquency prevention programs, and then answer this question the best you can. How do you think that those obstacles can be overcome? The next week we'll take a look at Chapter 13, which explores juvenile justice, as well as Chapter 14, which looks at police work with juveniles.